They'll sign up before this video begin, fellas. OBS messed up and deleted my sound settings, so the original recording of this, thankfully, because I recorded in Audacity, my voiceover was maintained, but the actual audio for League of Legends was lost. So I had to go back and re-record it through the replay system, so the audio sounds a little bit scuffed in this, then that's the reason why. Okay, enjoy the video. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Friday and another casual champion review. It's Mel Medarda time. Playing on the PBE server today and also playing the Swift Play game mode. I'm curious to see how this will go, because usually when I try to record casual champion review, it's a bit messy. If the game's too short, they surrender too early. That sucks if I'm not prepared. Also, it goes on too long. So we'll see how it goes here. But of course, since it's new champion time, we gotta test the emote spammability. Very important. That's okay.
She's beauty and she's
That's better.
The foolish need not.
Okay, that one's good. In terms of spams, a score to 4, you get like a 1.5 Mel. You don't get a lot of great spams. You know what is great though? Fan art section. Yes, look at the Mels. Not too many as expected though, with the kind of the surprise reveal of the new champion. But for what there is absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Sorry this one's a little bit late. I would have liked to have the casual review out the week the new champion was revealed, but it was revealed literally the day before the casual review would have gone up. So thank us for your patience. My thesis, I don't even know what's going to happen that. Hopefully you can get back to working on proper videos soon, but thank you, fellas. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. So I know what Mel does now. I know what she's about. She's weirdo artillery mage with stacking abilities. You try and stack up this execute range. It seems kind of weird, because I don't know about you fellas, but it kind of doesn't feel like a kit that Mel would have. I don't know. I just imagine her getting into League of Legends and her whole thing being about shields, but okay, I'm not saying she would be a support, but it's just that was kind of the core central part of her identity in the show for her magic powers was shielding people. So anyway, speaking of the show, we can talk about her lore a bit, which much like Ambessa, despite the fact that we don't have a bio for her yet, we can talk about her lore a bit. And you saw nothing. So I can recap Mel's story a bit. So we know that she's the daughter of Ambessa, although now we know she's the result of an affair, so her and Kino do not share the same father. She was raised to learn death and war from a very young age, but lacked the brutality that her mother did, often making efforts to spare the lives of the people that they conquered, and Ambessa wasn't having none of that, so she exiled her away to Piltover, where she was tasked with overseeing the family's interests and business ventures, far away from her mother so that she could no longer impede her plans. And in Piltover, she became a very skilled diplomat, a wealthy businesswoman, and eventual member of the Piltover Council. So all in all, just a very influential person in Piltover, and this was a bit of Mel's plan, wanting to regain her honor, because Mel had become very rich and powerful in Piltover, but not nearly to the extent that her mother and her family already was. She ended up coming to the consensus that her mother had essentially disowned her and exiled her from the family entirely, so she could build herself up this lengthy portfolio of becoming the wealthiest person in Piltover. Maybe her mother would accept her again. Show her that she's strong, that she's part of the Medarda family. But then Arcane happened, and you guys know, you've watched Arcane. Jace comes in and she decides to help him out with his research, and Victor as well, eventually forming a closer bond with Jace, and they kind of fall for each other. And because that, Mel starts to sway back to her more sympathetic side, losing a bit of that slimy aristocratic politician vibe, especially after her mother returns and tries to manipulate Jace even farther. Then she almost dies with the hand of Jinx. Anyway, then they had the whole thing of Mel getting kidnapped by the Black Rose, and it turns out that she has been a mage this whole time. That's how she was able to save Jace. Then she figures out the Black Rose's riddles, figured out, wow, this character is really good at last hitting. What? She breaks free of her confines, supposedly teams up with the Black Rose to go take down her mother, goes back to Piltover, and does just that. But now that she's done that, her mother is gone. Now it seems to be that Mel is almost the center point of the lore going forward. We've seen her in that ending scene in Arcane. We see her in the Bite Mark cinematic. She's a champion now. It's becoming very apparent Mel is going to be very central to a lot of the League narrative going forward. If it ends up being true that the next show is about Noxus, I'd have no doubt Mel is one of, if not the main character. That's so stupid. This is surprisingly easy and straightforward. She looked weirdly complicated when I looked at her kit, but this is pretty smooth sailing so far. I think it's almost inevitable that the next show that's going to be based in the League universe is going to be Noxus themed, and Mel will probably be the main character. How she'll be the main character, what she's actually going to do, I'm not entirely sure. Though this model kind of hints that she might be diving back into the world of politics again. Whoa, hey, I was talking over here, you wascally wabbit. I think I actually get her too. I don't know, the way that Mel's costume now feels very polarizing to what her arc supposedly was gonna be, because now she's back in this super high society aristocratic dress, I hesitate to say, when wasn't her whole story about her transforming away from that side of the conflict, going from a passive politician to an active mage on the battlefield, seeing firsthand the damage that's being done? I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with the design from Bite Marks, the cinematic, where she had pretty much the same design that she had from the ending of Arcane, but with that big red Noxian scarf. I thought that was really good, not just because it added that Noxian color to her because she was primarily, mostly her own thing, not even Piltover colors. I think the reason I like that so much is because having this giant red scarf is a great parallel to her mother, because Mbessa had that exact same kind of big scarf over her shoulder, except Mel's is significantly larger, and to me that reads immediately as a visual signifier that she has literally outgrown her mother's legacy, almost like she's trying to take back and reshape the Medarda family. Also, damn, you see the color. Maybe this is just a Noxian thing to have these very long flowing capes. Darius has that too. Have you ever seen the Legends of Runeterra cinematics? How big his cape is there? That version of Mel looks significantly more combat ready with the skin tight suit, the lack of all these eccentric fabrics. Makes it look like she's very flexible and on the battlefield. Whereas the version of Mel that we knew for so long looked like this conniving politician that we know her to be. I gotta be honest, I didn't think that would kill, but it did, which is why this new design confuses me. Oh! Secret tech. Wait, if I get Medjas and get the shoes early. So I should say I do find this design very appealing. It looks really cool, and by default it does give her a unique silhouette automatically, so that it helps with readability. But I don't really feel like this design makes a lot of sense for who Mel's supposed to, like, what is this walk cycle? Mel didn't walk like that. Not even before. Mel never walked like this. What is the champion version of Mel trying to say? Is it trying to say we're going back on her character arc from the show? Is this how she's gonna be in the new show if they ever make one? Is she delving back into the world of politics and even more so trying to rise to the ranks of the Black Rose or Noxian society, even being this, haha, I am this elaborate, high powerful mage politician, you can't stop me? I think this would work if her journey was about becoming even more of a slimeball politician, but that's not where she's going at all. So it doubles in weirdness, not just because of that, but also because it's wildly impractical for the kind of character she's supposed to be. For a battlefield mage, this outfit is wildly impractical. She's gonna trip over it constantly. Someone will just step on it and she'll fall over and slam face first into the ground. So it's weird. It's like the champion design contradicts what her character is supposed to be. Wow, that's stupid. I don't really know how else to describe it, except that the Mel that I feel like I'm currently playing in League of Legends feels like a weird alternate universe version of the character from season 1, where if instead she was a politician in Piltover, she was a politician in Noxus from the get-go. It's also weird that TFT just made a version of the character, and I checked out the character models actually. She has the same animations, both on the TFT version and this version, but she doesn't have this giant cloak. She has, I think actually she has more tattoos, more gold markings on her in general, and even some more exaggerated silver bits, but this is just, it looks cool, it looks nice, and the color scheme, obviously Noxus, red, gold, and black is just a killer color combo. Say that 3 times fast. I don't know, it doesn't feel correct for the character she's supposed to be. I think the TFT one, is very accurate to the design she has at the end of season 2, but also is lacking that Noxian red I think she should have. Oh, she had that actually design at the very end of season 2 where she's on the ship with her mother. That one at least had the big shoulder oh, on to game 2 we go, I guess. Excuse me, what? I got a C? 10-1, and I got a C? What the fuck? Alright, game 2, everybody, we're here. I don't even remember where I left off at. The queue time for Swift Play, air quotation, Swift Play, took 12 minutes to get in the game. Maybe because it's PB, maybe because I'm playing the new champion, but God, that is frustrating. I think we can use this game to talk about her gameplay, because we talked about her design enough, how it's just kind of odd for the character she's supposed to be. This battlefield mage is dressed like she's going to a fancy ballroom dinner. In that sense, it doesn't really feel like the same character from the show. That could all change, granted. See, See that they must have known. I think it's in the same vein where the champion design doesn't really reflect who the character was, or it might reflect who the character is going to be someday if they ever make a Noxian show and she's the main character. Maybe that's where her journey takes her. I don't know. That's too far off to tell. Arcane took 6 years to make. Who knows how long we're gonna have to wait to get the Noxian show. But in the same way, I think her design doesn't really feel like the Mel that we know. It's the same way her gameplay also strangely doesn't feel like the powers that we saw in the show. She had that one moment with Reflection, which I guess might have been inspired by the W. I don't know the timeline of making the champion Mel versus making the Arcane power set. Judging from how she uses her powers in the show, though, it does kind of make me lean more towards that they had the idea for Mel as a champion in League of Legends first, and then design the kit around that. Sometimes there's differences. Sometimes champions are designed in the inverse way. I'm pretty sure Ornn was designed that way, where they had this idea for a blacksmith character, and they kind of just recycled a bunch of old concepts they had for reworked Scion. Mel definitely feels like her kit was designed around her character, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Do I actually... But I think it definitely does add to the whole strangeness of Riot trying to make Arcane canon, yet not really going the full mile. I can say at least that she got her actual Arcane voice actress. That would have felt very strange if they didn't. Same with M-Pesa. I don't know why they didn't for Victor, but it's almost this reluctance to go the full way. They're so adamant about trying to make Arcane canon, and yet, yeah, they can't get the Arcane voice actor for Victor. The design doesn't look like how he does in the show. Half the Arcane skins don't look like how they do in the show. Mel doesn't look like how she does in the show, or even by the end of the show she doesn't look like this, and she doesn't necessarily have the power set you would expect in the show. You could even argue M-Bessa is very similar. Those twin Drake Hounds don't show up until the very last episode. I would have expected if they made M-Bessa a champion, she would have been more of a sword fighter, because that was her primary weapon of choice in every other episode except the finale. Also, they never explained what the green fur on M-Bessa was all about. I thought maybe that was gonna be like she tore some off of Warwick or something. That's completely unexplained. I don't get it. Right, if you want to make Arcane canon, then go the full way. Make all the skins and the champions look identical to how they do in the show. Get the voice actors from the show. Make their abilities actually match how they were in the show. Update the biographies of all the characters that were in the show. It's so stupid. I feel like I'm playing the middleman here, because I both actually like that Arcane is canon and really don't like that Arcane is canon. Oh, that's... Ah! Get Ebola'd. Oh my goodness gracious. I think Arcane being canon has rubbed me the wrong way, not in that Riot is trying to update and modernize their stories, because there are a lot of champions that are outdated and don't entirely fit into the League of Legends universe. Victor has constantly flip-flopped between if he's actually a good guy or a bad guy almost on a yearly basis. Jace, nobody gave a rat's ass about Jace before Arcane. He was just Tony Stark without any kind of character arc, just an insufferable asshole. Heimerdinger's biography is less than the length of Bel'Veth's passive. Twitch Ziggs have nowhere to go. Seraphine had to be retconned less than a week after she came out. So I actually don't mind Arcane trying to unify this universe and make everything cohesive. The problem is, this is Riot Games we're talking about here. If Riot Games is telling you they're gonna retcon their universe again to... Oh no! You thought I was going to cut to my death, didn't you? If Riot Games is telling you they're going to retcon their universe to update their champions so that they're all cohesive and fit within the same mold, the same universe, I don't trust them. Wait, I can... A well-timed... Oh, I don't know why I thought that if I reflected his empowered Q that would heal me. I don't trust them because Riot said they were doing that back in 2014. We're gonna retcon this universe and we're gonna make every region matter, every champion have a place in this world. And then it's 10 years later, what's a Kog'Maw? What's a Corki? What's a Shaco? What's a Cho'Gath? What's a Twitch? I don't trust that Riot is gonna follow through on trying to make Arcane canon, and they already aren't. Again, not getting the correct voice actors, not having the abilities match or designs match or updating the biography to the champions that were in the show. It's, what are you doing? Commit to the bit, goddammit. Ironically, by doing this, they've also made situations where like, okay, we retconned Arcane to being canon. What's a Blitzcrank? That was a very long and lengthy tangent. What were we talking about? Mel's gameplay? I think I said earlier that I would have fully expected Mel's entire gameplay kit to be revolved around shields because that was her primary thing in Arcane. I don't think she necessarily has to be a support of some kind, but I think you could make a hybrid class of her. I don't know. I got Marvel Rivals on the brain. I think of Mr. Fantastic, right? Mr. Fantastic is technically a DPS character, but he has so many elements of a tank that he's kind of a DPS tank hybrid. So it's like a great option. If you have 3 DPS, 1 tank, you have kind of an off tank to help you out. I think Mel could definitely work as a weird sort of mage support hybrid character. There's obviously the chance that they do that, she's going to get yoinked straight into the support role, which would be ironic because every time they try to make a hybrid champion designed to be in the support role, like they make Senna or Tom Kench or Pike, they always find a way to weasel themselves into the other lanes. So it'd be kind of funny that like, oh, here's a mid lane character that can also be played support. And she only gets played as support. I just think not just because her powers were about being shields in the show, but because that was kind of central to her character arc. It made sense that her powers were about mainly shields. It was a great representation of her progression as a character. For the longest time, she sort of played the role of a passive antagonist, this slimy politician in Piltover, obtaining the wealth, oppressing Zonites, whether knowingly or not, by being in this high position of power and out of the conflict. Oh. That's so stupid. So having that kind of character and giving her immense superpowers primarily built around shields, a way that directly protects and helps people, is a fantastic way to show that's where her character is gone. She's gone from this more background character just influencing people from the sidelines and making people's lives worse to actively going and helping people, protecting people herself by her own merits, but also having the power to defend herself. She has grown beyond her mother. So I don't think she should be a full support, heal, shield, enchanter character. I think having her be a very powerful mage is still there, but having the only part of her kit that has anything to do with shields or protection be the reflect, something that only protects herself, that was her whole motive at the start of season 1, that she was all about me, me, me. I gotta progress my motives and make my house more powerful and make myself more wealthy and manipulate others for my benefit. But that's not the kind of character she is anymore. That all being said, so far, I will say the kit is very fun. Maybe that's just because I'm really ahead and getting fed, but as someone who's a bit of an AP Cogma enjoyer and likes playing Vel'Koz from time to time, a bit of Lux and Ziggs too, I am an artillery mage fan, so gameplay wise, this kind of is right up my alley. The whole execute mechanic I think would have been, oh no. I panic ulted. See, I thought I was Kog'Maw for a second there. The whole execute mechanic, I think, probably would have gone over more smoothly if Smolder hadn't released literally a year ago. Other than that, she feels kind of basic in terms of kit. Like, she's very straightforward, even though she looks really complicated. I guess the most exciting thing about her kit would be the reflect, right? It is sort of the logical next step of Windwall, though even more obnoxious. Now your stuff isn't just nullified, it's reflected back at you. And I have seen funny clips going around of her reverse Briar ulting or reverse thresh hooking that she still hooks them in anyway. There's some fun interactions there, but it kind of does give the impression because it, goodbye. It has a lot of room for really fun interactions and a lot of interesting scenarios, and it's just a fun ability overall, but it does really, with only how it's just barely like the shields that she has in Arcane, it feels like this was a bit of a leftover concept. In a similar vein to how when they were developing Aurora initially, they had the whole idea of her stealing ultimates, but they thought it was too evil for Aurora, so they scrapped it, and they eventually took that idea and turned it into Silas. In that sense, the champion Mel does feel like they had this idea for a reflection ability. Oh, I think I did that too early, but I'm going to call it a bug. It kind of leaves the impression that Mel's whole reflect gimmick was what came first. Like, it was a mechanic that was iceboxed 5 years ago, and they were just looking for a moment to bring it back. And so they kind of slapped it onto Mel and had to build the rest of the kit around her. So I'm kind of two minds about it, because it is fun and interesting, and she looks very cool. But if you're trying to make it a representation of Arcane, this is the champion that we know from the show, and the same way you tried to do with Ambessa and Victor, where they both kind of flubbed in some areas too. For me, it's incredibly odd that this version of Mel does not match the demeanor, tone, design, character arc, powers, everything. Like, the champion Mel doesn't feel like the same character that we knew in the show. So I don't know if I would call this a failure or not. I think if you're trying to make it like Arcane, then it's not really a great execution. But who knows, really, because this could just be what she looks like in the future. If we have a future Noxus show and this is her appearance, then, you know, I'm happy to eat my words there. I'm just saying, for the Mel that we currently know as the one that's been presented in the stories, it doesn't really match that well, so you get that kind of weird disconnect. I will say, ironically though, the fact that she had the Arcane Counselor skin does remedy a lot of that. I think that design matches the whole demeanor and the outfit significantly better. That skin feels more tailor-made for the personality she's kind of displaying in the game. Not power-wise, of course. Mel just randomly being able to shoot Hex Tech lightning out of nowhere is, I guess she's Palpatine. It's a weird case because I kind of think we've grown to expect that whenever a new champion is released, we will never see them again. What's a Neferi? What's a Briar? What's Melio? What are any of these champions doing anymore? Wait, I can reflect the bounce back? That's so stupid. Mel's gonna be a strange case because I think it's almost guaranteed at this point we will see more of her, so we'll get to see her story progress, maybe even as the season goes on. That'll be a nice change of pace, and I'll happily eat my words if it turns out that this new version of Mel does match the character she's gonna be. But I guess until then, fellas, I think the game is ending. So thank you, fellas, for watching this week's Casual Champion review. Next week, I'll see you for We Windows Nunu. I'm very excited for that. So take care of yourselves, fellas. Have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next one, all right? I got a C+.